yourself a blessed little Christmas. Christ the King is born.
When you think about the upcoming holiday season, Christmas time, does the reality of history's most pivotal moment simply overwhelm your heart? Do you meditate on the Christmas story and marvel at God's amazing grace that He would come to us in the flesh, send His Son Jesus Christ for the purpose of dying for us, for our salvation? Of course you do. But like most women, like I was so many years in the past, you probably also are feeling a little stressed. Perhaps you're stressed because you're worried about getting everything done on your list, or you're concerned about spending too much money this year and going deeper into debt. And of course you fear that you might just gain weight again and not lose it. Well, many women do gain weight this time of year, and it's not hard to gain 3, 5, or even more pounds between Thanksgiving and New Year's Day. In that 35 days leading up to January 1st, you can gain 3 pounds by simply eating an extra 300 calories a day. That's only about 2 sugar cookies. I know, that's crazy. But think about it. From the time you start baking or having all sorts of goodies show up, maybe at church or at your workplace, or friends bringing over some of their baked goods, you're munching and crunching on a little bit more than you normally do. I mean, holiday treats we enjoy only once a year, but they're everywhere. And we tend to eat more because they're so special, and we're thinking, I only get this once a year. So what I find is many women, by the time they get to about mid-December, they just give up and they move into this all or nothing thinking. Oh, well, I can't fight this temptation, so I might as well wear those sugar cookies, fudge, and fruitcake on my hips. No, don't do that this year, because regret comes on really strong on January 1st. So this year, because you've made a decision to do something different, and it will make all the difference, I really believe you can move from stressed about all those things we talked about to blessed by taking intentional action early this year. It is my hope that this not only be your healthiest holiday, but your most blessed holidays. So let me ask you a question. What expectations do you have for this season? You know, our joy during the holidays is really influenced by our expectations. As women, we have a heart for connection. We want to create wonderful memories. We have a picture in our mind of what it should look like. Maybe it's a little bit like some of the pictures on the Christmas cards we've received of some of our old pictures, perhaps a great old movie. And there's nothing wrong with that. We do want to build great memories. But sometimes there's the reality of not every family member getting along, or meals not being as relaxing and joyful, not everybody participating in decorating the tree, or whatever it is for you. And I know, as a woman who is a type A, and I like to have things just so, and I love to decorate my home and, check off all these things on my list. To me, it's not Christmas if certain things aren't done. So you can see this little graph here called the misery factor. And the bottom line represents reality, and the top line, your expectations. And here's the truth. If there's a big gap between reality and expectations, our misery is great. Now, that doesn't mean that we let go of all of our expectations. It just means to constantly be looking at them in light of the reality of what can be. So we can apply this to our hopes and dreams for the kind of Christmas we're going to have, and we can also apply it to our body. So here's a realistic expectation to have for this year with regard to weight gain or weight loss. First and foremost, I want to teach you how to do what I call hold the line. And that basically means you are not going to gain 1 extra pound this holiday season. Okay, so let's get to why you're really here. You want to prevent any weight gain this year. I understand temptation, trust me. As a recovered emotional eater who struggled with bulimia for about 16 years, I so know what it's like to cave into immediate gratification. And I also know what it's like to regret it later. But we don't have to give up, and we don't have to give in just because that's what we've always done. And we don't also need to say no to every single special holiday treat or become extremists so we can avoid that weight gain. I have this philosophy about food. I call it my no forbidden food philosophy. And it's helped me to come out of bondage to food. And this is how it goes. I can eat anything I want, anytime I want. Therefore, I don't have to eat it all right now. Now, what does that do for me? It gives me permission to choose. You see, I'm not eating certain things during the holidays or any other time of the year because I can't, because I can. I'm doing it because I choose not to. And there's a big difference. We can actually have a little bit of fun and eat a little bit of food here and there that is for pure enjoyment and not suffer a lot of ill effects. But it is when we go from, mild to moderate to extreme that our body pays the price, and we pay the price inside and out. So we know food temptation is going to be on the rise really soon. So we're going to be really wise and develop our plan now. We're going to get a reality check and deal with some strategies that are going to help us avoid consuming excessive calories. So let's start with my strategy number 1, and that is a reality check to stay motivated. Keep in mind, not all reality checks make you feel good, but truth is truth, and this will be helpful. The first is to use your bathroom scale and weigh every 1 to 2 days. But the reason I say it during the holiday season is it's so easy to let things get out of hand, and especially if you're not counting calories and wearing an activity monitor, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So getting on the scale and just watching the trend. We all know that the scale does not tell us accurately what the weight is made up of. It only tells us how much we weigh. So depending on what you ate the day before, the time of the month that is for you hormonally and so forth, it may vary 1 or 2 pounds a day. But as you're weighing every day or so, you're going to see the trend and be able to make a really good, quick mid-course correction. The second thing that I want you to do is I want you to find a pair of tight jeans or pants or even a tight skirt that is snug and that you can use as another measuring tool, because again, the scale is not completely accurate day to day telling you if you lost or gained fat. So put that piece of clothing on every maybe 3 or 4 days and just notice how it feels. If it's starting to get a little looser, woohoo, you are really moving in the right direction. How exciting is that? And if it's getting tighter, well, you know what to do. Now, my last reality check, you're going to hate. And yet, I think it's going to be really effective. And so if you've got the guts, girls, this is what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask you to pull your swimsuit out of the drawer, wherever it's hidden, in the privacy of your own room one day when you're all alone. I just want you to put on your swimsuit. I want you to stand in front of the mirror and just look at your body. And this is not to be critical or judgmental. It's just to say, do I really want to add any extra fat to my body? And of course, the answer is no, I don't. And I'm just taking a visual reality check, my third reality check, and I'm committing to myself to not do that. Now, you might want to hang that swimsuit on a hanger somewhere in your closet or whatever that you can see it to remind you. If you've got super guts, you might want to put it on maybe once a week or every couple weeks, just if you feel like it really did rock your world a little bit in a positive way. But I do believe these reality checks can really help you stay on track this holiday season. There are 3 habits I've been teaching for many years that I think are worth talking about, but I want to relate them very specific to the holiday season. I'm going to just list the 3. They are the you are what you think habit, the 3D habit, and the in and out habit. So let's start with you are what you think specific to the holiday season. It says in God's word that as a man thinks, so is he. We're also told to be transformed by the renewing of our mind, to set our mind on things above, to think on things that are worthy of thinking about, to have the mind of Christ. Over and over in Scripture, we're told how to think and how to think well. And the bottom line is we believe what we tell ourselves most often. God designed our brains in a way that it takes some time for them to really change, but we can literally change our neuron pathways and change our thinking, which ultimately truly changes our emotions and our behavior. This kind of transformation that really creates a new normal, it takes some time, it takes some repetition. And we certainly don't have a lot of time before the holiday season, but I'm going to share some techniques that I think can really start to move you in the right direction and get you on the road to ultimately changing your habits from the inside out next year and permanently. So here's what we need to do. We need to identify some of the lies that you're believing specific to this time of year. I can't say no to my favorite foods. Oh, well, I might as well wait till January 1. How many times have we said that one? Well, one of the things I've taught for many, many years is the practice of healthy self-talk, really telling yourself the truth over and over, because it literally does change your neuron pathways. It's how God designed your brain. Certainly using scripture is powerful as well. In fact, even more powerful because the word is living and active and sharper than any two-edged sword. So I want to encourage you to practice healthy self-talk this holiday season. Okay, I want to give you a few little tips for maximizing your healthy self-talk sessions. Number 1, listen intentionally. And pay attention to every word. Pause and repeat statements that you need the most. So as you're listening to a CD or a recording, if you hear one that really resonates with you, pause the recording and say it out loud. Number 3, write down 2 or 3 of the most important statements and memorize them. Put them on index cards, put them on little post-it notes above your toilet paper in the bathroom, whatever it takes. These little mindful activities will really serve you well. Lastly, here's a really simple idea that can be very effective. Set your smartphone to alarm you 4 or 5 times during a day, and that's your reminder to practice those key statements. So we need to move from kind of the inside-out approach of our thinking, which is so important, to a really practical way to deal with your food triggers. You know they're going to come. You know they're going to be there. So what are you going to do differently? Well, that's where we're going to apply the next habit, the 3D habit. And the 3 Ds stand for determine, delay, and distract. This habit will help you deal proactively with temptation. Here's the determine. The determine is you every day waking up and deciding, today I'm going to do things that move me in the right direction when it comes to my health. And you're going to determine that this is a priority for me. And you're going to also intentionally determine to tell yourself that at least 2 other times during the day. Maybe right about lunchtime, and definitely just before you move into a time of temptation. Maybe that's evening for you, or you're going to a holiday party. So you're going to practice that first D, determine, by reminding yourself over and over. One of the things you can do is find a picture of yourself when you were leaner and put it somewhere where you can see it, and reminding yourself, this can make all the difference for me. If I can do the right things here during the holiday season, how much stronger will I be to move forward with my health and weight loss goals into the new year? And the answer is you will be much stronger. The second D, delay, is a great tactic all year long, but this time of year it's really good. And what I tell most of the women I coach is practice at least a 10-minute delay. Anytime you're tempted to eat, especially fun food, and of course when you're not even hungry, you're going to determine to take at least 10 minutes and just wait. You're not telling yourself you can't have it. You're just saying, I'm just going to wait 10 minutes. What happens many times is the impulse passes. Now, you could be in a scenario here at Christmas time where somebody's brought some chocolates into the office, or a friend has just brought over a plate of homemade cookies. And there will be occasions where you feel like, well, I need to at least have a taste to be polite. And you can do that. You can certainly modify this. But most of the time, if we're really honest, we have the ability to say, I can wait for 10 minutes. After the first 10 minutes pass, ask yourself, could I push this off another 5 or maybe another 10? And if you can, do so. Now, here's the thing. As you're practicing this 10-minute delay, you're showing yourself you have a lot more self-control than you realized. And you're also often passing that immediate moment where you had the urge to eat. And you're learning that you really don't have to cave in to immediate gratification. Sure, you may not do this every single time, but if you make it your intention and really try to practice this 10-minute delay most of the time, when you really know you don't need to eat or you want to control those extra fun foods that add up, I really believe you're going to see that you have way more self-control than you realized, and you'll be building a great habit that will serve you well. The last D, distract. And what does that mean? Step away from the food. Yes, that's right. It's a very practical habit of just removing yourself from the temptation. 1 Corinthians 10:13 tells us that no temptation has overtaken us, but such as is common to man, and God is faithful to not allow us to be tempted beyond what we're able, but with the temptation will provide the way of escape that we can endure it. And then the next verse says, flee. Flee from idolatry. And truly, if we're really honest with ourselves, when we feel out of control with food, we're idolizing that food. We're so craving it and wanting it and not being in control. And yet we are in control. I've said this so many times, but I've just never seen a cookie or a piece of fudge jump in someone's mouth. You are in control. And so we practice the 3D because God has given us the power to make good choices. And while we have old habits that seem to be driving us, we don't have to live stuck in those old habits. And so distracting yourself is a very wise thing to do, to step away from the food. In fact, a study recently expressed that if we can put our food in our cupboards or refrigerators in containers that we can't see through, we're less likely to just eat them out of impulse. Interesting. The next habit I want to address is the in and out habit. It's the power of a reality check put to specifics. And here's the thing. Facts are the facts. The truth is the truth. You gain weight when you eat more calories than you burn. So you need to realize everything counts. Every morsel you put in your mouth counts. Your body knows how many calories it is. It gives you credit. Every step you take, every activity you make counts. Your body gives you credit. So this in and out habit allows you to be more aware of what you're doing. I often compare it to keeping track of your money. It's very rare for anybody that has any money sense at all to not look at what you have in your account on a regular basis, because we know from experience it's so easy for the expenditures to add up. And we look at our accounts and go, oh my gosh, I have no money left. But when we look at them on a regular basis, we know what our bottom line is, so we don't overspend our account. If we pay the same kind of attention to the calories we're eating and burning, it can serve us really well and give us a sense of control. So I have several practical ways you can implement the in and out habit to keep you on top of what you're eating and burning so that you don't gain any weight this season. Here's the first one. If it's worth eating, it's worth recording. What do I mean? Well, you could keep it as simple as a little teeny notebook you put in your purse, and every time you go to put something in your mouth, you write it down first. And I say first because it makes you think about it. You write it down before you put it in your mouth. Now, in this high-tech day and age, what I like to use is an activity monitor that tells me exactly how many calories I burn every day and has a software program that allows me to input calories really quickly and easily, take a look at it every single day. I use a little calorie counter called a Fitbit. And by the way, this would be a great time for you to buy yourself a little Christmas present right now. Before we move into the full-blown holiday season, invest in this one little thing. It'll make it so much more fun when you are out shopping because you'll be wearing your little Fitbit and looking at all the calories you're burning running around the mall. But the bottom line is you want to know what your bottom line is. You want to know what you're eating and what you're burning every day. And the more accurately you get that information, the better. So if it's worth eating, it's worth writing down. Ideally, you will put it into an activity monitor, which is not only going to tell you what you're eating if you give it the right information, but also what you're burning. This information is crucial. Years and years and years of coaching people, those who have been most successful have worked on their healthy self-talk and have paid attention to the numbers. And in fact, a whole nother layer to this, I just call it calorie college. And it's really, again, paying attention to exactly what you're eating and what you're burning. Decide to do that. Now, there will realistically be a few days here and there that you just won't maybe have the time or inclination to do a calorie count. But if you do it most days, you are going to be really happy you did. And you're going to learn something so valuable at a really important time of year to learn that information, because this is the time of year where the calories really add up. So let me show you just how much they do. I told you earlier that you could gain 3 to 5 pounds during the 35 days between Thanksgiving and New Year's Day by simply eating an extra 3 to 500 calories a day. And most people grossly underestimate how much they eat. But let me just give you a couple examples and have you guess how many calories you think are in these foods. Here's our first example. A cup of eggnog, 3 crackers with cheese, a half a cup of nuts, 2 ounces of tortilla chips, 5 Ritz crackers, 3 tablespoons spinach dip, 2 mini quiches, 4 ounces of Swedish meatballs, pecan pie, an ounce of fudge, and an iced sugar cookie. I should have sang that, and a partridge in a pear tree. How many calories do you think are contained in those foods? Not an uncommon amount of food for a person to eat at a holiday buffet. Voila, look at that. 2,600 calories. You would have to run a marathon to burn off all those calories. Well, let's look at the next example. We've changed a few things here. You can see we have sparkling water with a splash of juice, some veggies, the 5 large olives, fresh fruit was added in. We've got wheat thins instead of the mini quiches and a half of a deviled egg. Some shrimp with cocktail sauce, 2 pieces of fudge, we don't want to be Scrooges here, and a shortbread cookie. What do you think that adds up to? Well, don't guess. Here's the reality. About 700 calories. You would have to run a 10K, 6 miles, to burn off that food, and that was so much better choice. But that's just how fast these foods add up. If this was what you thought was going to be your dinner and your dessert, and yet 700 calories, yep, that was not an outrageous amount of food, and that was dinner. Let's look at our last example. Again, with the sparkling water and a splash of juice, a cracker and cheese, veggies and olives. Very, very similar, just a little bit less. 1 ounce of fudge, 1 sugar cookie, and the total for that, 350 calories. A reasonable amount to snack on, and a 3-mile walk or jog to burn off. Can you see how fast these things add up? And what I want you to think about when you're grabbing that little sugar cookie, that 1 piece of fudge, that little quiche, that little pastry puff, almost every little tidbit and treat you put in your mouth at a party, at the office, even in your kitchen counter, is usually going to be 100 to 150 calories, almost every little morsel. And it just adds up so fast. 10 little morsels, 1,500 calories. Pretty much close to most of your daily allotment if you're not exercising. So be super mindful. Yes, you can have some fun treats, but you want to be intentional about what they are. So, first of all, I'm going to ask you to make a list on your own of all your favorite things that you have only during the holiday season. I mean, the things you just normally do not ever get to taste any other time of year. Write all those things down. And the things you just can't wait to have. And this is the thing. I want you to save your calories for those things. You can have a roll with dinner anytime, so don't have it with Thanksgiving dinner. You can have a chocolate chip cookie all year long, so don't have it. Save it for your grandma's favorite cookie. You see what I'm saying? Choose the best from all the good, and then relish the best. When you go to have that favorite cookie or piece of candy or whatever that treat is, really enjoy it. Eat it slowly and savor every bite. One thing many people don't realize is the first few bites of any meal or snack or treat, they're actually the most enjoyable. As we continue to eat, our senses actually become more dulled. And if you were really paying attention, the first 3 or 4 bites are way more enjoyable than the last bites. So that's where some of your self-talk can come in as you tell yourself, I'm satisfied very, very quickly, and the first few bites are enough. Okay, now it's time for one of my favorite strategies because it allows you to not feel guilty eating those favorite foods we just talked about. It's called building a calorie bank account, and this is how it works. Hopefully you have your little Fitbit or activity monitor because it really will make it so much easier. And hopefully you're totally tuned in to being willing to count your calories for a little bit. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to intentionally try to eat about 200 calories less a day, 5 days a week, through the holiday season, starting right now. Probably for most of you, that will be Monday through Friday. But if you can just find a way to carve off about 200 less calories a day than you normally eat, 5 days a week, you're going to save about 1,000 calories a week. Now, that doesn't mean on the weekends that you go crazy. Well, I saved those 1,000 calories because trust me, you can eat them back on really quickly. So on the weekend, I'm just saying to you, you don't have to carve off extra. You can just eat kind of normally. Now, on the other side of the energy equation, I want you to try to burn an extra 200 calories a day. You're not going to know if you're doing that unless you have an activity monitor. So if you put on your activity monitor and wear it one day when you just do your normal activities, what you normally do Monday through Friday, and figure out that maybe you burn, say, 1,600 calories a day, now your goal is to burn 1,800 calories a day. If you do that 5 days a week, you've just added another 1,000 calories into your bank account. So between the two, you now have 2,000 extra calories. Those are calories that you can indulge in some of your favorite treats and so forth without gaining weight. I'd like to close out the practical part of this webinar with a few more things that I think have really helped me stay lean for many years. And they're not rocket science, but if you practice them, they can make a huge difference. The first is always eat very slowly. The older I get and the longer I practice healthy living, the more I realize I eat very slowly. And I try to be very intentional about every bite I put in my mouth. If you can start doing that, I think you're going to find you will intake way less volume of food and you will enjoy it way more. Additionally, it's really helpful if you don't drink too many of your calories. Now, you have to decide what's most important to you. If you enjoy a glass of wine now and then, or if you have a special beverage like a latte that is really important to you, then you may choose to include that in your diet. But remembering, it really does count. And the other thing is we have found through many, many studies that most people are not as satisfied drinking their calories as they are eating them. So that's just something to keep in mind and adjust as you evaluate what's going to work best for you. Understanding what intentional eating is really helpful. And what I mean by that is when you go to grab a snack or even plan a meal, ask yourself questions like, what is going to satisfy me the most right now? Is it going to be crunchy or soft or cold or hot or sweet or salty? And if you can, you can't always, but if you can, eat something that's going to be most satisfying for you in the moment, chances are you're going to be less inclined to want to eat more later. Another habit that has really served me well is I decided years ago that I would limit my fun foods, my empty calories, till way after lunch. So normally I don't have anything that's an empty calorie, anything sweet or chips or anything like that until about maybe 2 in the afternoon, if at all. And so if you could start again, practicing that delaying of gratification to a specific time of day, what happens is if our blood sugar is really stable and if we're eating, healthier foods earlier in the day, chances are we're going to be more inclined to make healthy choices later in the day. And even if we have a little fun something, we won't tend to overdo it as much. So that's a great habit that's helped me. Another thing that has helped me is eating on smaller plates and with smaller utensils, and also to cutting my food up into smaller pieces. Here's a crazy example. I have a nutrition bar many, many mornings that has a good source of protein and fiber, and it's fairly small, about 200 calories. I put it on a little cute plate, and I take a sharp knife and I cut it into about 15 little bits. And I have my little coffee or tea and sit there having usually my quiet time and just eating those small little pieces. And interestingly, if I didn't cut it up, I'd take a couple bites and it'd be gone. But it usually takes me maybe 10 minutes to eat it. I'm eating it very slowly, and I truly enjoy it, and I'm always satisfied. But if I don't cut it up, I'm not, because I'm taking those bigger bites. There have been interesting studies that say if we, for example, eat a little bit of ice cream or some special little, chocolate mousse dessert or whatever with a little teeny spoon and a little teeny cup, we're satisfied. We don't take these great big bites. And so I know it seems a little crazy maybe to some of you, but I've been doing it for years, especially when it comes to those really rich treats that I am very intentional about, and it works. It really does work. Well, the most important tip I can give you for being lean and healthy for the rest of your life is to get as active as you can. And I mean exercise every single day if you can. I know that sounds like a lot, but one of the reasons that we struggle so much with excess weight is we simply don't burn enough calories. I truly believe God designed us to have a certain appetite in order to get all the quality protein, carbohydrates, and fats our body really needs. And some studies even say the average woman really needs about 2,000 calories a day. The problem is she's not burning 2,000 calories a day. When you can get your activity up, you can eat enough calories that you have room to get plenty of nutrients and a little room for fun, and you can be lean as well. So if that's not a habit, now is a great time to start that habit. Don't let Christmas or anything else be an excuse for you not getting your body moving. God made you with lots of moving parts. You are going to look and feel so much better when you get more and more active. And so if you're not already getting significant activity, at least about 10,000 steps a day on that Fitbit you've bought for yourself, you need to work toward that, because that is going to make a huge difference, not only in getting the fat off, but keeping it off for the rest of your life. Well, as I close, I want to return our focus to the most important reason of the season, of course, Jesus Christ. Before I close with the words from my very favorite Christmas card of all time, I do want to mention the music that was playing at the very beginning and that we will conclude with is from a CD called Pure Christmas by my friend Sylvia Lang. The song she's singing is called Have Yourself a Blessed Little Christmas, and it will sound familiar because it was written by the same man, her uncle Hugh Martin, who also wrote the song Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, which was immortalized by the famous Judy Garland. Uncle Hugh, as Sylvia calls him, became a believer later in life and decided to write another version of the song that you're listening to. And as you listen, you may be interested to know that even though he's deceased now, he actually was playing the keys of this song with Sylvia Lang. And now the words from my favorite Christmas card. If our greatest need had been for information, God would have sent us an educator. If our greatest need had been technology, God would have sent us a scientist. If our greatest need had been money, God would have sent us an economist. If our greatest need had been pleasure, God would have sent us an entertainer. But our greatest need was forgiveness, so God sent us a Savior. Have yourself a blessed little Christmas, ladies.
Christmas future is far away. Christmas past is past. Christmas present is here to stay, bringing joy that will last. Have yourself a blessed little Christmas. Christ the King is born. Let your voices ring upon this happy morn. Have yourself a blessed little Christmas. Serenade the earth. Tell the celebrate the Savior's birth. Let us gather to sing to Him and to bring to Him our praise. Son of God and a friend of all, to the end of all our days. Let us all proclaim the joyous tidings, voices raised on high. Send the carol soaring up into the sky. This very merry hallelujahs, as to him we bow. Make the music mighty as the hymns allow, and have yourself a blessed little Christmas. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Have yourself a blessed little Christmas.